Hello and welcome everyone to this webcast on Rethinking IT for SME, from Business Enabler to Agility Engine. My name is Timo Elliott and I'm an Innovation Evangelist for SAP. SAP and Oxford Economics recently surveyed 2,000 executives, including the technology function, to understand how small and medium-sized organizations are positioning themselves for the new opportunities of the new economy. The report concludes that the IT function has become the heart of modern business, supporting the rest of the organization's long-term success. IT plays a critical role in preparing the rest of the organization for long-term resilience, setting the foundation for ongoing digital transformation, and ensuring that every other part of the business has the tools they need to succeed. To help me discuss the challenges and opportunities, I'd like to welcome the authors of the Oxford Economics report. Ed, Adriana, please could you introduce yourselves and give us a high-level overview of your research?
Thank you, Timo. Great to be with you once again. I am Ed Cohn, Editorial Director and Technology Practice Lead for Oxford Economics Thought Leadership.
And my name is Adriana Gregory. I'm a senior editor on the thought leadership team at Oxford Economics. It's great to be here talking about our recent research with SAP. Ed and I have both worked closely with SAP on the study for most of 2020, and it's been really interesting to get a picture into how executives across functions, including IT, are adjusting their management tactics around digital-driven strategies, adopting different softwares, and focused on surviving the crisis and also positioning for future growth.
Yeah, absolutely. We have all this year experienced how connected we are, how interconnected we are. We've all felt the same terrible pandemic and reacted to it. And actually, that idea of every part of a business and its ecosystem being interconnected is one of the real frames that we've been looking through. We sometimes call it systems thinking, and that puts a lot of pressure on IT to deliver the kind of data flows, the uniform processes to enable this way of working in what is a sometimes painfully connected world. But there's so much opportunity there for businesses to survive and thrive around the work that IT makes possible.
So there are lots of challenges and opportunities for the IT function. Ed, what are some of the key differences between larger and smaller organizations when it comes to IT's role?
It's a great question, Timo. Obviously, every company is different, but by and large, what we see is the IT function, the role of the CIO or the senior tech person at a smaller company is just so all-encompassing. While you're the CIO of a big organization, you've got people who handle support. You've got people who handle different aspects. Probably in a smaller organization, you're going to have your hand in everything. It's a lot of pressure, but it's a lot of opportunity, again, around this idea that we want every part of the business to be connected and every part of the ecosystem to be connected. If you actually are aware of the details, there's a huge role at small and mid-sized companies for the CIO to be a true strategic leader in a way that perhaps wasn't always the case historically in this market segment.
So IT is more strategic than ever for small and medium-sized organizations. Adriana, how have the challenges and opportunities changed over time?
Well, I think that some of the challenges and opportunities that Ed has mentioned have only gotten more pronounced during the COVID-19 pandemic. As he said, we've all gone through this together over the past year. We know that companies of all sizes are facing similar challenges around disruption of their business models, major workforce issues, and frankly, just personal stress that individual workers and executives are dealing with. But at the same time, we know that the economic constraints, the resource constraints on mid-market firms is often much greater than what's happening with larger firms. So I think that kind of the role of the IT executive as wearing many hats is probably just, that's probably just even more the case now than it was at the start of the year.
Yeah, it puts a responsibility on IT to build that infrastructure. We think about software like ERP. that's the beating heart of an interconnected organization, because all your relevant info, or most of it, is right there. And to be interconnected is to share data, to have common processes. So it expands the role of IT in a smaller organization beyond the sort of basic enabling technologies that we're familiar with, to really having a similar infrastructure at a reasonable scale that you might have found only in a much larger company several years ago.
So smaller organizations can now also benefit from more interconnected data and systems. What are the trends that you're seeing that are accelerating these kinds of transformations going forward? Adriana, let me start again with you.
I think we're seeing a lot more emphasis just on organizations wanting to be prepared for ongoing change. I think more of a need to understand future risks and have visibility into different parts of the organization, and even things that are happening outside their organization. So obviously that requires a lot of new processes and new tools for actually understanding what does lie ahead.
I think we have, obviously in the headlines and in our daily lives, we all see an increased emphasis on untangling that complex supply chain. And smaller companies have frequently very complex supply chains, global supply chains, and having the technology in place to manage those, to simplify them, to make sure the information is flowing, to make sure you have some alternatives when one source suddenly is unavailable. That is critical. And that's a huge challenge for IT. And another, it's a constant, is talent. You've got to compete with all manner of companies, large and small, for the right people who have the skills to use this technology, and not just the tech, but to understand it as a driver of business. Those are pretty advanced skills, and it's a challenge for many organizations, but it's one that the CIO or the person in charge of technology really has to focus on more than ever today.
So we've talked about the opportunities and touched on some of the challenges. Could you tell us more about what's top of mind for IT executives? What are their main goals and priorities, and how has that been changing during the crisis?
Sure. I think you can see from the responses from the IT executives that we surveyed that, they're focused on far more than technology infrastructure. Big picture strategic goals were clearly top of mind. They cited growth and improved customer experience as their goals, ahead of things like enabling digitization or increasing productivity. And again, I want to remind everyone that our survey was fielded in the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we thought it would be interesting to look at how those results changed over time. So to see the respondents who were from countries that were dealing with an early peak, how did they respond? And we saw that those strategic goals remained in focus even for those that were dealing with the crisis at the moment.
It's been a stressful year for all of us, and IT is no exception. So many strains on the business, so many new demands, and in the midst of this, they've still had to remain focused on things like cybersecurity and uptime and availability, and of course, making new technologies, or unfamiliar to many people technologies like the ones we're using today, just widely available overnight. And so a lot of pressure on the IT department, and maybe a shift in some priorities, which we certainly understand. When you're in a crisis, you have to deal with the crisis. But I think one of the big challenges for IT and for senior management in general is keeping an eye on growth, keeping an eye on what happens after the crisis and after the recovery, so that you're well positioned and you can service your customers and help your employees do their jobs, not just in this moment when we're all sort of bailing water, but in the better times that will come.
So what direction are organizations going from a technology perspective?
I think a lot of it is driven by external factors, like what customers and employees need from the organizations they're working with. We know that customer needs have changed a lot in the past year, even more so than before. They're looking for new ways of getting their products and services. They're looking for new ways of interacting with companies. And, they're still focused on the things that they were focused on before, like personalization of products and services in some cases, or just efficiency in getting what they need. And then, of course, at the same time, employees need different things from their employers as well. They need flexibility. They need new tools for new ways of working. So I think all of those changes are what's driving different technology strategies this year. It obviously takes a different set of tools to get these things done. Ed, do you want to talk a little bit about what those are?
Sure, and I've mentioned a couple of them already. I mean, we're using this video conferencing software now that everybody's had to distribute to their people, learn how to have good etiquette on it overnight. And then I also mentioned ERP, which really is the beating heart of an interconnected organization. And small and mid-sized companies are using it. Over half of the folks we surveyed responded that they're deploying it in some way, but it's still early days for a lot of people in this segment. Most of them are not deploying it at scale. And so in this moment of accelerated change, what we think should happen is that once you've made sure your people are safe and you can keep the lights on, that emphasis on putting in the tools that are going to connect everybody, get those data flows and processes standardized and high quality across your organization and its ecosystem. This is the time to really make sure you're getting that to survive now and thrive in the year and the years ahead.
So Ed, let's drill into that. How can organizations use these tools and technologies to help with customer needs, employee needs, and partner needs?
Well, customers, employees, and partners are demanding a lot this year. And I say that as somebody who's a customer, an employee, and a partner. We have needs this year. They're not wants. We talk a lot about wants and needs. This year, they're needs. They're needs for services that will keep us safe and productive, will get our goods or services where they need to be and allow people to use them as we live now. It could be something that sounds simple, like curbside pickup for a retail business. It's not that simple if you're the IT shop that's responsible for that. You've got to have a mobile infrastructure that connects to that ERP system in a meaningful and useful and real-time way to make sure that order is fillable, filled, and delivered to the curbside. So for me, the customer, it's very simple. I just text in my order or use an e-commerce app. But if you're in IT, you've had to change so many things to stay in business and keep your customer coming back for more. So that's just one example of how a challenge from the customer side results in this ripple effect where we've got to get the tech right throughout the organization to deliver. So I get my book or my blender or my hamburger and I come back again tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think we've seen from, we know that IT executives are investing in a wide range of technologies. And we saw in our study too that they're already reporting some benefits from these. I mean, a majority say that these digital technologies have meaningfully improved their customer experiences and their employee experiences. So I think we're on the track that Ed was mentioning, but it's just going to take a lot of work to continue to stay on that path and stay competitive with larger organizations too.
So Ed, Adriana, let's sum it up. What are your final conclusions and recommendations for the audience?
This is, in very real ways, IT's moment. This is the moment where the CIO, the senior tech leadership, can step up into a strategic role and help save the company, service the customers, keep the employees getting what they need, and really build for the future. And that may sound very high level and inspirational, and it kind of is, but it's also a moment to think about the specific technologies like ERP that may have seemed out of reach or not so much something companies in your segment would have invested in. It was for the big companies. This is the moment to say, we can put those to work. We can find ways to weave them into our interconnected business. And that's the opportunity for IT to help the whole organization move forward as we hopefully leave these tough times behind and move into a much brighter future.
Right. And Ed, I think I agree with everything you just said. And I think that that strategy of trying to weave in the technologies into everything you do, I think that should also advance that idea of a connected organization and help integrate IT into the rest of the organization so that everything is happening at a strategic level.
So the future is about interconnected systems that help small and medium-sized businesses be more agile in the future. Thank you so much, Adriana, Ed, for talking us through your research.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was great to be here today. I just want to say also that there is a lot of other data for those that are interested. We've done a lot of research on IT executives at companies from all around the world and across industries, and you can see those results in many reports from SAP and Oxford Economics.
Now let's turn to another expert who's focused on the technology small and medium-sized businesses can use to transform their organizations. Hi, Chris, and welcome. Please, could you introduce yourself and explain your role?
Absolutely. So my name is Chris Horak. I work in SAP Product Marketing, and I have been with SAP since 2005, and I focus on enterprise resource planning ERP solutions for small and mid-sized business.
So first, how have you seen the role of IT changing in the customers that you talk to?
Well, that's really a key question because everybody thinks that things are just progressing along very normal, steady path. But I think we have a big disruption now. And the disruption is that IT and business are almost like trading places. And it's a bit of a play on word, trading places. It used to be that business set the requirements and IT followed and implemented according to the business needs. And now IT is almost setting the path. Why is that? Because people are growing up, my kids, people in the world, they grow up with a completely different view of what technology is. They don't see it as technology. It's just stuff they use. And it's there for them instantly. It's on their mobile phones. They have everything right now. They don't want to wait for anything. That is an IT-driven demand on how customers behave. And every business has adopted to it. And I think that's what's different now, that you don't have a business strategy and then you add IT to it. You have to look at both things together. IT is driving business. That's the big difference. And small businesses typically don't have that much resource. They don't have that many experts or even a dedicated IT chief to deal with it. That's the change.
So IT is increasingly strategic and increasingly setting the pace. How is that affecting the customer experience?
Customers expect everything right now, instantaneously. They want good insight, they want reports, they want self-service. So you have to really look at your customer sentiment, if you will. How do your customers feel about your business? And if you look at the current crisis, although I don't want to go into details with that, people aren't coming to your store. They're online. Right? And they want a good catalog. They want to browse through. They want to know when things are shipping. They want to have service. They want to have self-service capabilities. Your people are expected to be very well informed about everything. The business has to be connected. And I think that's what Oxford talked about. It's the connected business. So IT becomes basically part of your value proposition. Everybody has to sort of deliver in the IT way, which is everything right now, accurately, on time.
And how does ERP then fit into all of this?
Well, ERP traditionally means three letters, enterprise resource planning, but I think now we have seen a change. Enterprise is also an extended enterprise. It isn't just your business, but you have to be connected. Your suppliers, your customers, your partners, everybody has to be connected in, so you need a different kind of system. Resources seem to be like your people, your money, and it was fairly static. You could plan for it very well, but now these become very random, like some things are changing, things are not available, so you have to respond much more quickly, which the R then stands for real time. So real-time resources. And the planning bit, that's great, but you also need some kind of a platform that you can really work on. It's great to plan your business, but you need to operate on that system. It's your sales, your marketing, your procurement, your HR, your processes, your security. Everything has to fit together. And that's what ERP is. It isn't a disjunct set of individual applications. It's one system that lets you take a look at your complete business in one view. And that's where ERP fits in. It's your business platform. It's what you run on.
I think most of our audience will know the term ERP, but maybe associate it with big, unwieldy systems that are too much for a smaller organization. What has changed?
Well, I think the biggest change is that you don't have to wait for anything. Everything is available right away, especially when you have it in the cloud. There used to be a time when your transactions, how you do business, like your sales, your marketing transacted, and then you analyze what happened. Now that's coming together. And I think that is a very key difference, that if you have a cloud ERP system, you get everything on a single page. You don't have to wait for anything anymore. That's great for small businesses because they don't have the resources, the resilience, or the buffer zones to wait for things to happen. They have to act instantaneously. So bringing analytics and transactions together is the biggest benefit.
So let's drill into that notion of bringing analytics and actions together. How does it work? What are the benefits? And what are your recommendations for organizations going forward?
Yeah, I think the thing that I want to really talk about is that ERP is not like it used to be, where you had your transaction system where you write your invoices and get everything transacted, and then you have an analytics system where you analyze your business and make recommendations and plans. Now everything has come together into one. You can see things as they happen. You see the trends, dashboards, and analytics in one system. That's wonderful. That's what small businesses need. They want insight to action. They don't want any separation or any disruption or any kind of gaps between what they want to do. So that's the biggest change, how it can help any business. So my recommendation is, yes, we know we're in some kind of a crisis, but that's a chance to rethink your business. It isn't enough to go back and say, let's optimize everything we used to do and make that a bit smarter here and a bit smaller there and a bit faster here and a bit more integrated here. Rethink your business. Which business are you in and how would you start it up today? And then you talk to somebody that is knowledgeable about this. And that's how SAP does it. We work with partners. They're local to your business. They speak your language. They're in your industry. And they've seen a lot of examples of what other companies have done. So you can get inspired. You become an expert in the art of the possible. Don't just look at what you have done and make it better. Do something differently because the world's really rapidly changing. And the modern system, like our ERP systems, can help you do whatever you want. There are no limitations. It's connected. It's real time. It's in the cloud. It's modern. It has mobile. It has analytics. It's secure. So there's no longer a limitation there. Reimagine your business, focus on the art of the possible, and work with one of our partners who have seen other customers do great stuff. And that's how you can progress in this crisis and move forward. Rethink your business.
So thank you, Chris. It's about turning disruption into opportunity and rethinking from scratch what you can do with the latest technologies to take advantage of the new opportunities, with perhaps just a little bit of help from SAP and our partners. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening to this program. I hope you found it interesting and that you gained some actionable ideas for your business. Now, if you'd like to hear more about the research that Adriana and Ed mentioned, please take a look at the Oxford Economics report entitled The Agility Engine, the role of IT in preparing small and mid-sized organizations for growth in the next economy. Until next time, all the best of luck with your projects. Please stay safe and goodbye.